Hi, it's Martin Kove, and you're watching Actors Reporter, hosted by Kurt Kelly for Live Video Incorporated.
Kurt Kelly from Actors Reporter and Live Video Inc. at the 2013 34th American Film Market, and you've been here to every one of them, haven't you?
Almost. I've been. Sometimes I feel like a piece of meat on a hook, so I don't come all the time. Yeah, I don't come all the time. I came to have lunch with some people here that I had done a film for. In Toronto, a movie called Taps, which actually had their deals already set in place before they came here. But they're in from Toronto and great integrity, young kids, and had a good time doing their movie.
What's it about?
Well, oddly enough, it's about, it has martial arts in it, but it's about a boy in high school who's having a rough time. And there's a little taste of The Outsiders in it.
Off the tracks and rolling like dice flying off the backhand. Previous, what's up? We did it come to snap, hit, snap, Joe, we came to get bucked. My crew's big boots and track suits, loose drugs, mean mugs, street thugs, living it up. Jump, stop what you doing, man. Everybody get your hands in the Soviet tent. Now drop, keep it moving, man. You come and kick your ass out like a Russian.
Alright, y'all, this is it.
Protect yourself at all time, obey my command at all time. If you want to touch left, do it, now go back to your corner. When you're ready, sir. You ready?
It's really a wonderful movie, and Cody stars in it, and I think that it's got a good shot of really moving into doing 5 or 6 pictures. A very entrepreneurial group, and they come out of Toronto, and I've had such a fun time with them, and just having lunch and discovering all the other things they're doing. I used to come here to try and sell westerns. And
Really?
Yeah, I'm still a huge Western enthusiast, but the Western market is very tough. It's very tough, and so Cody and I were planning a Western together where I'm a mentor and he's this youngin trying to understand the way of a gunfighter. And it's not as pat a story as it sounds, but he's got wonderful ideas. And my son is here. His name is Jesse Kove, and Jesse produced and acted in a movie called Mischief Night, and also really closely related to Coppola's Outsiders. It's about a group of kids who have a rough time growing up in high school, and it takes place it was written by a boy named Ryan Cohn and directed by a boy named Richard Zelniker.
Not any relation to the Coen brothers?
No,
okay,
no.
Just checking.
I wish he was. He'd have a lot easier time getting it out there. But it's a really good picture, and it was in the Hollywood Film Festival a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of my son, as it would be.
Congratulations.
He's 23 years old, and he's...
So is he kind of following in your footsteps?
I don't know. You don't want your kid to really... I mean, this business is so rejection-oriented.
No, really?
I mean, look at everybody here, I mean, they're all here making deals that aren't going to happen anyway.
Right.
And very few people have any money to do anything. They just want to let you know that they're here.
Right.
And I respect that.
Or let you think that they have everything to make it happen.
There's those attaché cases with a script in them that, they have enough money for lunch.
Right.
But it's okay.
Maybe.
That's okay. I think that it's all right, because as long as it's not deceptive and people aren't lying to you, they come here to see if they can find someone to finance their movie and explain their idea. I did the same thing before I did Karate Kid and Rambo and all that stuff. I came here in the early days, and I think
Where are you originally from?
New York originally.
Okay.
And right now I'm doing a lot of radio plays and directing them, and did 2 projects that are exciting. They're both westerns this year. One we shot in Tombstone, loosely based on the treasure of Sierra Madre.
Now, what is your affinity to all the Western?
I think it's metaphysical.
Were you there in a previous life?
Yes, I was born.
You weren't Marshall
very
Dillon,
astute.
were you?
No, I wasn't Marshall Dillon.
Who were you?
But I was born on the day the Alamo fell,
Really?
March 6th.
In real life?
Yeah. And
Okay, this lifetime.
not in 1836.
Okay,
'Cause
just
I'm
saying.
not
You
that-
look good for
I
that
know,
age,
I know,
yeah.
I know.
Well preserved for being over 100.
It's all the GH3 and Romanian stuff that I take.
Okay, good.
But
You went
I-
to those parties too.
I did. I
Okay.
did. But to be perfectly honest, that genre was the beginning of American cinematic heritage.
Right.
The very beginning, and the Great Train Robbery and all that, all those wonderful John Ford films. And I recently, in September, took my son to the Monument Valley, and we rode with a Navajo guide, and then proceeded on to this annual trip we go with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid used to hide out.
Oh, how cool.
A place called the Hole in the Wall.
Yes.
And I've been doing that ride, I guess, since '83. But riding in Monument Valley and being on the terrain where 1939 John Ford shot, the Stagecoach, and then seeing Stagecoach that night at the theater at Goulding's Lodge where they all stayed, and knowing that that holy ground you rode your horse on today was used to create the venue for John Wayne. It was heaven.
Wow.
And my son said to me, "Dad, it's a black and white movie." And I said, "You've got to see it." And he loved it, just loved it, because kids don't know from black and white movies.
Well, and I just interviewed someone a few days ago who did a film called Johnny X, which is reportedly the last film to ever be shot on 35 millimeter black and white. They bought up the last stock available to shoot the film.
Wow.
So I'm hoping that's just for the short term, that they'll bring that back again, because it does have a whole different sense when you're watching black and white over color.
Well, my favorite film. What's your favorite film of all time?
Oh, wow. I don't know that I have just one. I mean, I think of Gone with the Wind or The Wizard of Oz when I think of the black and white era. What's yours?
Well, truly black and white was Casablanca. I
Yes.
mean, the Humphrey Bogart film, I think, is flawless. It's flawless. And, I've got my 5 favorite Westerns, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and, Once Upon a Time in the West, and Red River, and my Bible is probably The Wild Bunch.
Oh, good selection.
Searchers. But, I met Sergio Leone once at the Cannes Film Festival. I chatted with him for a long time and showed him how much I knew about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars and all. And we had a great time. And he had his brother-in-law with him, who was his translator at the time. And then I found out about 6 months later he was coming to the Chateau Marmont here
Oh, here in Hollywood, West Hollywood.
to cast Once Upon a Time in America. So
Really?
I learned in Italian fluently, "Do you remember me?" from Cannes. And so I got the appointment, and I went up to meet him, actually, in the Chateau Marmont where he was casting. And I sat down and I said it to him in Italian, "Do you remember me from Cannes?" And it was hysterical. He had now learned English well enough, and he says to me, "Do I remember you? You're the boy who knows more about my movies than me."
Oh,
You know?
how sweet.
Oh, it was heaven, just
Yes.
heaven. But there aren't that many characters like that around anymore. John Wayne is as tough as John Ford was in his repertory company. It was great to work for characters like that. Abusive they were, but it's a different era now, and you can make.
You could certainly say they had their boundaries,
yes,
and if you crossed them, you would know.
yeah, you
Very
would know.
clearly. Very
Only
clearly.
after you crossed them, you would know.
Right.
Because these characters.
When they handed your leg back to you.
Yes.
Yes.
The stories that I think Dolby Carey Jr. wrote in a wonderful book, Company of Heroes, where he was, he played, you know who he is, but maybe some other people don't. He was the sheriff in Tombstone who gets shot by Powers Booth, and he's been in 3 Godfathers, and She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. But he said that, John Ford was very abusive, and it was really tough to work for him, and he used to put John Wayne on the chopping block all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Wow.
and yet John Wayne
Had a lot of respect for
had
him.
a lot of respect for him.
'Cause he
Cried
got-
at his funeral. I mean, So it's cinema is a funny game where we all do it because we feel so good when the product is something to be proud of. But I think rehearsal and development of a character for the movies or even for a play is as interesting as the event of acting. I've had more fun developing, especially if you're playing a real life character,
Right.
working with certain people and and interviewing certain people and who knew them, and technical advisors of how they used weapons or how they were martial artists and what their style was. And that stuff is as exciting as when you're on the set and the camera's rolling.
Because it's a whole education.
Yeah.
You're learning. What's the favorite role of all time for you that you've done?
Well, I tell you, with all the accolades you get for the Karate Kid movies, all three of them, two of my favorites. The first one was Blackjack Ketchum in the last installment, a 4-hour installment of The Gambler.
Okay.
And it was all about the Wild Bunch. And I had a ball. I mean, it just was terrific. And it was Kenny Rogers and Bruce Boxleitner, and it was a whole wonderful. They hang this guy. And when they hang him in history, Blackjack Ketchum, his neck tore away from his torso.
Ooh.
He was a big guy, and they misweighted the gallows.
Okay.
So
They caved.
couldn't really show that on TV. It was, but what was interesting is showing it to my kids at the time when they were 4 and said, Daddy, they see me hanging and then I fall through and you just see my feet, and they say, what happened to you, Daddy? Because they couldn't put two and two together. But we often talk about that, and I enjoyed that so much, shooting in Galveston and San Antonio and Lajitas and, just went Bracketville where the old John Wayne set was for his Alamo. And we shot there, and I had a ball
The
with the
spirits
family.
were speaking to you.
I had the family there. The kids were 4 years old, my twins. It was heaven. They were on the north wall watching me act. Crockett North Wall. And
What a thrill.
yeah, it was just so good for me. And the other one was Wyatt Earp, working with Kevin Costner. And
That
Larry,
was a great film.
great film. And,
Absolutely
And Larry
was.
Kasdan was terrific, and we had some fun time. I cried when I left that set.
Really?
I loved it. I didn't want to leave.
Because
I
it
didn't
was
wanna-
just like the family was
They're
there.
great. I mean, Kevin makes a Western out of everything.
Right.
Whether it's The Postman or anything. And he's such a good filmmaker.
Whether he's catching ball in a cornfield.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly. So, you just kind of love being in that. That's the environment that we all subject ourselves for this other rejections or problems with the AFM or the insincerity that exists here. But when you get a quality project like that and your heart beats so fast every day you're on the set,
Nice.
and it just can't be beat. It's almost worth all the abuse you get in our business.
So, what was your very first film?
My very first film was
Do
a
you
movie.
remember your
I
very
do.
first film? Yes.
It was Little Murders.
Really?
Yeah. No, the first one before that was Where's Papa with George
Okay.
Siegel.
Wow.
And I was just a
And how old were you then?
it was 1970. So I was 23, I think, 24. And it was in New York, and I was just a character who was stolen and brought up on a diet of football, and he was really just a high-class extra, but he was a prominent character. And I didn't know what I was into. I had a great time. George Siegel and I've forgotten Vince's last name, but it was just a wonderful movie. And I think and it was directed by by Carl Reiner, and it was terrific. And it was the first time I had ever been on a set. And then the first speaking role that I got was Little Murders.
Oh, really?
Jules Pfeiffer played,
Okay.
and Alan Arkin directed it, and it was cut.
How was he to work
It
with?
was great.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
seems
Elliot
like it.
Gould, and it was great. And Elliot Gould kills me in Central Park, and it was fantastic, just fantastic. And then it wasn't in the movie, and Alan Arkin sends me a letter and says, Martin, you were wonderful, but we couldn't have him kill you in the scene because he's a pacifist in the movie. But don't take it personal, you did a great job. So once a year I bump into Alan Arkin and we laugh about it, and that was 1970.
Really?
Adam is a friend, and it was just, those were the kind of great days where you had no responsibilities. You were trying to make a living, and when I came out here, trying to do heavy after heavy and trying for people to see you that you can do leading man stuff and comedy, but they didn't, because you do a couple of bad guys, and if you were good at it, that's all back in the 70s and
Are you
80s.
saying typecasting?
Yes, a bit. Until I got Cagney and Lacey. Then finally, when I got Cagney and Lacey, things were a little different. And they threw me some comedic bones. And that was such a classy show. Whatever you did after that, you were spoiled.
Right.
It was, the material was so good.
Well, and that's the day when network television really was very dominant in the world and had such an impact with the audiences, too.
Yes, absolutely.
What does the future hold for you?
Well, there's a wonderful surrealistic Western that I've just finished, and I
I didn't
play.
know you were going to say Western
Well,
again.
because you know, they came to me a couple
Do you want
years
to
ago.
cast him? Find a Western.
I did it just, yeah. You know, like the old stories of Brando used to. Brando did it with a nose. No, it was Olivier that did it with a nose, and Brando did it with an accent.
Yes.
And somehow he made each role so rewarding for himself by just choosing those two actors, choosing that element within their character. For me, somehow I feel so at home with a six-shooter, in a duster, in with a cowboy hat, and because
Your
it's
boots.
my boots,
Okay.
it's so much part of my life, and it's all metaphysical. It's all that I was there in another life, and this surrealistic character I play is the devil in the Old West, because the slant is it's a surrealistic Western, and that's the twist. And I have these orange contacts in my eyes, and it's a lot of fun. Eric Roberts is in it, and we really have a good time.
Nice.
And they're editing that now, called Six Gun Savior, and then the others.
Oh, I interviewed Ziff.
Yeah, they produced it.
Yeah,
Lorraine and
Lorraine.
yeah,
and,
Lorraine's
and her
great.
husband.
Yeah, Lorraine is the angel that I'm hunting.
The Angel of Death, I think, is what
Yes,
she
she
called
is.
it.
And
Yeah.
the piece has now been edited in a rough cut, and I've just turned him on to a new editor that works with Michael Bay, and hopefully, he'll solve They don't have a lot of problems. They're very happy with the rough
Right.
cut. But these are people that put up their own money to make
Yes.
this movie over a period of years, shooting a week every couple of months, and it ran through its transitions. Some of it is useless, and some of it is terrific. So they'll make a good movie out of it, and they're really good people. And I think the key for me now is trying to work with as many people who have lots of integrity, as well as creativity.
Would you consider something that's not a Western?
Oh, of course.
Okay, we have some stuff to talk about then. We'll be back with more from Actors Reporting on Live Video Inc. I'm Kurt Kelly. Thank you.